This footage shows ground testing for a German Messerschmitt Me 163 Komet during World War II. It was the only operational rocket-powered fighter plane ever built. The unprecedented design produced speed and power that would not be seen again in another aircraft for over a decade. As seen here, testing was fraught with danger. In this instance, the rocket acceleration pushed beyond the tolerance of the airframe, and the prototype was sent plummeting to the ground. The Komet. After World War II, the Allies seized as much of the technological expertise from the Germans as they could. Among their discoveries was an impressive aircraft designed to be propelled by a rocket. The Messerschmitt Me 163 was created by aeronautical engineer Alexander Lippisch, who began experimenting with the concept of tailless delta wing aircraft in the early 1930s. He was subsequently tasked by the German Aviation Ministry to develop an aircraft using Helmuth-Walter's rocket engine. The rocket-powered interceptor aircraft he developed has been the only of its type to become operational. It was also the first piloted plane to surpass 621 miles per hour or 1,000 kilometers per hour while in flight. By 1940, the Germans had test-flown the DFS-194 aircraft using the Walter RI-0203 rocket engine, with several successful flights showing the plane could go up to 342 miles per hour, or 550 kilometers an hour. The promising prospects of that project played a crucial part in encouraging the Reich Air Ministry to pursue the Me 163 with Alexander Lippisch. The plane was designed to attack Allied bombers, and eventually 370 of them were produced for the Luftwaffe. Not all of them, however, were operational at the same time, as the design faced multiple technical changes, fuel shortages, and was extremely dangerous for pilots to fly. The finalized version was operational from July of 1944 to May of 1945, the very last months of the war. While the rocket-powered plane was unprecedented, its testing was incredibly messy and resulted in many accidents. Testing. With the resulting data and knowledge obtained by Alexander Lippisch during his work on tailless aircraft, he began working on the A-series prototypes of the Messerschmitt Me 163, the first of which were ready to undergo testing in 1941. The Me 163B version, with updates and technological advancements, was put on hold until 1943 due to complications with the original's engine and fuel source. One of the recurring issues with the first set of aircraft, as evidenced in the footage of a test gone wrong, was that the undercarriage kept hitting the airframe. When on a takeoff roll, the well-sprung suspension of each wheel kept rebounding as the aircraft took off, and the dolly would impact against the plane. This was eventually solved by the use of cross-beam axle dollies relying on the oleo-pneumatic strut during landing and takeoff to absorb the shock. The solution was not implemented until the B-series of the planes was developed. In the meantime, the movement could induce back injuries to the pilot, which could still happen when under certain conditions with the second series. Complications with the ground transport of the aircraft meant that once it landed, a tiny converted agricultural tractor called a Scheuchschlepper had to tow it. The rocket engine itself presented many hazards and challenges for those involved. Although its speed and climb rate were unprecedented, the aircraft's range was extremely limited due to the rapid consumption of fuel. Furthermore, the fuel was prone to accidental ignition and explosion, which happened more than once during manned tests. Even testing intended for guidance with the future development of the Me 163B saw its set of issues. The Reich's Air Ministry demanded that the engine be capable of throttling, which complicated the design and made the aircraft lose overall reliability. Complications with the fuel system, prone to leaking during hard landings, were recurrent. Germany struggled with metal fittings and the glues that held the airframe together, which is clearly evident in the footage of the plane dismantling as it speeds forward. The fuel and the oxidizer were both toxic, putting pilots at risk, and the B-series of the aircraft, known as the Komet, often exploded at the tarmac due to the hypergolic propellant, meaning components would unexpectedly ignite. The propellants used were clear fluids, complicating the spotting of leaks. For safety reasons, the tanker trucks that loaded the aircraft with the sea-stop hydrazine fuel would immediately hurry away from the plane after refueling. Then the second propellant, the highly reactive and prone to ignition T-stop oxidizer, would be delivered by another truck. Furthermore, the liquids were corrosive, especially the T-stop, which meant pilots needed additional protective gear. The pilot had to fly in a cockpit right next to 32.7 gallons of toxic T-stop and 275 gallons of the C-stop hydrazine, which meant that any explosion would most likely prove fatal. The B series of these planes were only ready for operational use by July of 1944, far too late to play a decisive role in the war. Only 279 of the B Komets were delivered to the Luftwaffe. The only operational air group flying them, the JG-400, managed only 9 kills, while losing 14 of their rocket-powered planes. Captured aircraft. It is believed that over 30 of the Komet planes were taken out of German territory after the war. In fact, according to the Royal Air Force Museum, 48 German aircraft were captured in excellent condition after the war, 24 of which were shipped to the United Kingdom for evaluation and some for eventual display. One of the captured Messerschmitt Me 163Bs taken by the United States or Canada is displayed at the National Museum of the United States Air Force in Dayton, Ohio. It was first restored and displayed by the Canadian National Aviation Museum and then purchased by the US in 1999. The plane is believed to have been taken while undergoing assembly as it features unfinished elements. The aircraft has a stone in between its fuselage fuel tank and a supporting strap, which would cause a leak if used, and it is believed that the glue in the wing is contaminated. The plane has writing etched into the aircraft, which is believed to have been written by a French forced laborer, stating, quote, "Mon cœur est en chômage," which translates to, "My heart is not occupied."